Greetings everyone and welcome to the channel. If you didn't know, my name is Cypher Alpha, and here we talk about gaming in general, as well as older games, classic games, kind of give you an idea of what's interesting, or we just revisit games in general. Today we're talking about a game called Monster Sanctuary. The game was originally released on December 8th, 2020, developed by Moirai Games, published by Team 17. Now, the game is described as a creature collector with a heavy focus on turn-based tactics. And from my initial gameplay, that is exactly what the game is all about. The game is described on Steam as Metroidvania inspired. Basically a world where you can explore an expansive land and you call upon your team of monsters to lend their aid in and out of combat. You can use her skills to fly, ride, or brute force your way through environmental puzzles. So one of the main goals is to collect creatures, enhance them as much as you can through equipment upgrades as well as skill tree upgrades. And the more, and as we get into the game, we'll kind of get into the idea of what it's all about and basically sort of go through the structuring of the team and see what works and what doesn't, and maybe even see if this is a game you would like to get. So without further ado, let's get started and take a look at Monster Sanctuary. Thanks for watching. The Monster Sanctuary is a land far from any other human civilization. While monsters are dangerous to humans, monsters raised by them grow loyal to their owners. Most of the people in Monster Sanctuary reside in the Keeper's stronghold. Many of them learn to raise and train monsters. They call themselves Monster Keepers. Choose the familiar of your bloodline. So in this section, we have to choose our bloodline. And there are 4 to choose from. One is a spectral wolf. The other is a spectral eagle, which seems to focus heavily on fire and wind. We also have the spectral toad, which focuses on earth and water. In addition to that, we have the lion, which focuses on fire and earth. Now, some creatures here seem to focus more on damage, some others on defense, some other on magical attacks. I think for this particular run, we're going to focus on the spectral toad, which seems to be a good overall type of character, and that's kind of what we want to go with, at least for this instance. Among the most prestigious Monster Keepers, there are 4 prominent old bloodlines tied to the Monster Sanctuary's history. Each of those bloodlines is aided by a spectral familiar. Those familiars are ageless protectors of their family, passed on from one keeper to the next. For this particular run, our character, Sai, is just starting out to become a Monster Keeper like her ancestors before her. As with all starting Monster Keepers, her journey begins on the Keeper's Trail. Her bloodline's familiar bears the form of a spectral toad. I must apologize for the lack of ingenuity with these character names. We're kind of just running through the game here, so maybe on a stream we can name them something specific. But for this instance, we're going to keep it simple. Monsters are wild things. The only reason I'm helping you is the bond I share with your family. Most monsters are less inclined than me to help you. That is why you must always raise your own monsters. They will grow alongside you just as I will, and they will fight for you. The best way to gain a monster's loyalty is to hatch it from its egg. Of course, you will have to fight to get those monster eggs. Look at the blob over there. Initiate a fight by contact. We shall see if you live up to your ancestors. So here we're given a basic intro as to how to engage in combat. At the moment, all you have is the Spectral Toad, so you only have the basic 3 abilities: Mud Cannon, Bubble Burst, and Tackle. So we're just going to get rid of this level 1 blob in order to gain an egg and augment the team. As you can see, things start out fairly simply. But as you go along, you'll gain a lot more abilities and a lot more skills. Obviously, we could have done better here. We finished the fight in about 4 turns. Typically, you want to do more combos and get a better rating, as better ratings usually signify better loot. So basically the goal here is, like I said, just get more. It's basically just to augment the team. Now we just hatch the creature and add it to our team. Again, apologies for the naming conventions, but if I ever stream this game, we'll do them a little bit more justice. Now here the goal is to continue on with the Keeper's trail until we reach the end of it. Like I said, I'm not going to complete the trail in this video, but we're going to go over some of the basic mechanics and at least give you an idea what the game's all about. Now this is essentially another beginner fight. It just showcases how to use multiple characters in combat. I left this fight in because I think it just showcases the basics of the combat. As we progress along with the video, they should get a little bit shorter, a little bit more edited. As you can see in this fight, we fared a little better, gained a vital ring as well as a couple of small potions, and 29 gold. So here's something that we already covered. It's based on the effectiveness of your combat strategy. You will get a rating of 1 to 5 stars. Earning a higher rating increases your chances of getting better drops, like rare monster eggs. So the main point going forward is to continue that progression, level up your monsters, equip them, and just keep trying to improve that combat rating. So as we continue on, things should get a little bit easier. Here we see us equipping our Spectral Toad with some new equipment, as well as upgrading his skills. Now the skill tree here is very interesting. There's quite a few different options you can choose, and as you get skill points, you can definitely mold a team based on sort of what you want them to do, and you can certainly mold a team to how you would like them to operate. And I think the game does a really good job in sort of letting you as a user decide which path you want to take. Obviously, the more you grind, the more powerful your team can become. And I find this very interesting. So the level of customization you can the level of combat customization to the skill tree, it's certainly crucial to building a good one. Now here we have to use the Spectral Toad in order to break through a wall. There's certainly a lot of different familiars you can use, and each of these come with their own individual skills which could aid you in getting through the map. And I found this to be quite a unique way to progress through the map, and certainly there's a very light puzzle element to it, and that makes it very interesting as well. Now as we progress here, we also run into a lot of loot, certainly a lot of different items that we can use to augment each individual character in your team, much like any other RPG, and which is something I always love to do. And obviously, the more powerful your team becomes, the better things get, and that's our goal here, is just to kind of go through it, equip them, and see how far we can take, see how efficient we can make the team. As you can see in these next few sections, we're going to go through and continue going through a few fights, as well as continue to gather loot and continue to augment the team as needed. Now here is a perfect example of how to use a creature ability such as flying in order to traverse an area where you normally would not be able to reach. For some of these areas, you're not going to be able to jump onto the specific item you need, so you'll have to use some deduction to kind of get to the area you need to get to. And in this instance, we use a flying creature to get us across to get to the loot. Again, very interesting stuff, and I think it adds to the gameplay. And for this fight, as I'm trying to build this Spectral Toad to be more of a tanky element in the team, I have placed him in the front row in order to gain the best, in order to ensure he takes the most damage from the enemy team. Now at the end of this fight, we get a particular egg called the Magma Pillar. I found this creature interesting because it can generate a lot of buffs for your teams. Now what is interesting about the Magma Pillar is the set of buffs it can give to the team, such as shielding as well as sustain, which is something you'll definitely need as you progress through the game, as you'll want to certainly improve their survivability. Now, as you can see for this last fight, we have more fleshed out team. We still don't have the full complement, but it certainly gives you an idea as to the direction you could take. And so let's just get through this last one and see what how we handle this one, and how we can improve. As I mentioned before, here in this fight, we use some shielding, some elements of shielding as well as sustain in order to augment the team. Just as an example, it's not a particularly difficult fight, but it showcases some of what's involved. Like I said, it's a good way to make sure your team, to ensure that the team can get through a fight properly. For sure, this is a really good way to ensure team survivability. Like I said, this fight is not particularly difficult, but the main goal is just to showcase how it works. Now for this last fight, we get another egg, which is called a Hatch Rocky Egg, which also has some interesting abilities. And this essentially adds another member to our team, and so we can continue on to progress to the story. And I think, I think that about does it. Just to sum up, I think the game certainly has a lot of potential. Certainly has a lot of interesting mechanics. It's I could see a lot of replayability to be had as well. So it is for sure on my recommend list. It may not be for everybody, but if it's something you're interested in picking up, would certainly not shy away from it on a sale. So if you watch this far, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the flip side. This is Cypher Alpha. I'm out of here.